He came home early with a velvet box burning a hole in his suit pocket, only to hear a scream that didn't belong in the mansion. "Look at me when I'm talking to you, you little idiot." Ethan Caldwell froze behind the kitchen doorway, his hand hovering over the handle. 2 days ahead of schedule. A surprise proposal. A picture-perfect future. And then he saw it, orange juice spreading across the spotless tile, inching toward the wheels of his 6-year-old son's wheelchair. Little Noah sat hunched, crying without sound the way kids do when they've learned noise makes things worse. In front of him stood Brooke Waverly, Ethan's glamorous girlfriend, the woman who texted heart emojis and promised she'd love Noah like her own. Except now her face twisted with disgust. One simple glass, she snapped. "And you spill it like some clumsy animal." Noah whispered, "I'm sorry. My hands didn't work right." Brooke's arm lifted half threat, half impulse, but someone moved first. Marta Reyes, the housekeeper, who'd been there since Noah's mother passed, stepped between them like a shield. "Enough," she said, calm and deadly. "Do not touch him." Brooke laughed, cold as ice. "When Ethan isn't here, I run this house." Behind the door, Ethan's stomach dropped. Because he was here. Watching. Hearing every word, as Brooke called his son a burden, something to hide, something to ship away. And in that instant, the man with everything finally saw what he'd been blind to. All along, the real monster wasn't his child's wheelchair. It was the woman he was about to put a ring on. Ethan didn't step in. Not yet. Something older than money, older than pride, locked him in place. A father's instinct, a warning bell in his bones. He pressed his back to the hallway wall, holding his breath like the house itself might hear him. From the shadows, he watched Brooke circle Noah's wheelchair, as if it were a stain on her life. "You always ruin everything," she hissed, keeping her voice low now, dangerously low. "Your legs. Your hands. That chair. It's always something." Noah's shoulders tightened. His fingers clenched the armrests until they turned pale. "I didn't mean to," he whispered. I slipped." Brooke leaned in, her perfume drifting out like smoke. "Do you know how much effort it takes to keep this place perfect?" She pointed at the juice on the tile like it was a crime scene. "And you," her lip curled, "you roll in and make it look cheap." Ethan's jaw locked so hard it hurt. He'd been gone for meetings, flights, deals, telling himself he was providing. But right now his son looked like a kid who'd been living in a war zone. Brooke's eyes flicked toward the hallway close enough that Ethan's heart stuttered. Then she smiled to herself, satisfied. "Your dad isn't here," she murmured, almost sweet. "So don't bother with that sad little face. No one's coming." Noah blinked fast, trying to swallow his fear. Ethan's hand slid into his suit pocket, closing around the velvet box. The ring felt heavier than it should, like a mistake with sharp edges. And then Brooke's voice turned colder, sharper, like a blade drawn slow. "Listen carefully, Noah," she said. "You're not the reason he stays. You're the reason he wants to escape." Brooke's words landed like a punch Noah couldn't dodge. He stared at her eyes, swollen and shining, and the tiniest sound escaped his throat, half question, half heartbreak. "My dad doesn't want me?" Brooke's mouth curved into a slow, satisfied smile. Not warmth. Victory. "He pities you," she said, syrupy and cruel. "That's not love. That's obligation." She tilted her head, studying him like a problem she'd rather throw away. "You can't run with him. You can't kick a soccer ball. You can't give him the life he deserves." Noah's hands trembled. He tried to wipe his cheeks, but his movement was clumsy and slow, and that only made Brooke's eyes sparkle with more contempt. Ethan's vision blurred behind the doorway. His chest tightened so hard he thought he might actually break, because she wasn't just insulting his son, she was planting something poisonous inside him. A belief Noah would carry into every room, every friendship, every mirror. Brooke stepped closer, voice dropping to a whisper, meant to sound gentle. "Men like your father want freedom. They want a woman who shines. Not ramps, not wheelchairs, not this." She flicked her fingers toward Noah like he was trash on the floor. Noah curled inward, shrinking into the chair, trying to disappear. His breathing turned thin and fast. Please, he whispered. I'll be good. I'll be quiet. That's when Brooke raised her hand again, too quick, too familiar, like she'd done it before. And Ethan finally understood the most terrifying part. This wasn't a bad moment. This was a routine. Somewhere behind Noah, a kitchen drawer slid open, soft, steady, like someone had made a decision. Before Brooke's hand could come down, a figure in a blue and white uniform moved like a flash across the tile. Marta Reyes stepped between them. Not tall, not loud, but somehow she filled the whole kitchen shoulders, squared feet planted wide like a doorway no one could push through. Her yellow cleaning gloves were still damp, and with those same working hands, she gently gripped Noah's shoulders, not to restrain him, but to shield him. That's enough, Marta said. It wasn't a shout, it was a verdict. Brooke blinked, stunned for a beat, then recovered with a sneer. Excuse me, she hissed, as if the audacity tasted bitter. You're giving me orders. You're the help? Marta's lower lip trembled, but her eyes didn't. I am the help, she said quietly. And before that, I'm human. What you're doing isn't discipline. It's cruelty. Brooke's laugh came out sharp and ugly. Ethan isn't here, she snapped, voice rising. So don't perform your little saint act. When he's gone, I run this house. Behind the doorway, Ethan's knuckles went white around the velvet ring box. His throat burned. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it over Brooke's heels. Noah's face turned toward Marta, like a drowning kid finding air. He whispered, Nana, please. Marta leaned down just enough for Noah to hear her. You're safe, she murmured. I've got you. Then she lifted her chin and faced Brooke again, fearless. Lower your hand, Marta said, or you'll have to go through me first. And for the first time all afternoon, Brooke hesitated. Brooke's hesitation lasted half a second. Then her face hardened like polished stone. How dare you, she breathed, stepping closer until her designer perfume mixed with the sharp smell of citrus on the floor. Her eyes raked over Marta's uniform like it offended her. A housekeeper telling me what to do in my own home with this obstacle. She jerked her chin toward Noah's wheelchair, as if pointing at a dent in the wall. Marta didn't move. She simply widened her stance, blocking Noah completely. Yes, Marta said, voice steady. A housekeeper. And a human being. And what you're doing isn't human. Brooke's laugh came out clipped and cruel. Don't preach to me. Ethan isn't here, so stop acting like you're on some talk show. She folded her arms, leaning against the granite island like a queen reclaiming her throne. When he's gone, I make the rules. I decide what's acceptable. Noah flinched at the word acceptable. His fingers tightened around his little wooden toy hidden against his chest, the only thing anchoring him. Ethan watched from the shadows, his stomach twisting. This wasn't a random explosion. Brooke spoke like someone who'd rehearsed this, like someone who'd said these lines before. Marta's gaze never broke. The boy has a condition, she said. Not a sin. Brooke's eyes flashed. Save the sob story. I'm tired of tiptoeing around broken things. Her voice sharpened, slicing through the bright kitchen. You want to play hero, fine. But don't forget your place. Marta swallowed once, as slow and controlled. My place, she said, is in front of him. And under Ethan's roof, paid for by Ethan's money, good and evil stood inches apart, daring the other to blink. Brooke's lips curled, and the cruelty in her eyes went quiet, cold, calculated. Since you love places so much, she said, taking one slow step forward, let's make yours crystal clear. She extended her leg. A beige heel spotless except for one tiny, almost invisible dot of orange juice near the toe. She held it out like evidence in a trial. My shoe, Brooke said softly. Your little project splashed it. Noah's breath caught. He tried to lift a trembling hand toward a napkin on the counter. I can clean it, he whispered, desperate. It was my fault. Brooke recoiled as if his fingers carried disease. Don't touch me. Her voice sharpened. You'll ruin the leather. Then she looked straight at Marta and smiled like a blade. I don't want him. I want you. Marta's shoulders stiffened. On your knees, Brooke ordered. Clean it. And do it right. Because if there's a mark left, I'll tell Ethan you disrespected me. I'll say you threw the juice yourself." She tilted her head. "Who do you think he'll believe, the woman he's going to marry? Or the old maid who should have retired years ago?" The kitchen went dead silent. Even the refrigerator hum sounded loud. Noah's eyes filled again. "Nana, please don't." He choked tears sliding down his cheeks. "It's not fair." Marta closed her eyes for one heartbeat, swallowing pride like medicine. Then, with slow dignity, she pulled a clean cloth from her pocket and lowered herself to the cold tile. Ethan's stomach flipped behind the doorway. The woman he trusted with his home, his son, was kneeling like a servant in a nightmare. And Brooke watched satisfied, as if this humiliation was the point all along. Marta's cloth hadn't even touched the leather when Brooke shifted her foot just enough to make Marta crawl a few inches farther, like a dog reaching for scraps. "That's right," Brooke murmured, looking down with bright, hungry satisfaction. "Get used to it. When I'm Mrs. Caldwell, you'll spend a lot of time like this." Noah's sob caught in his throat. "Nana, please." Marta's hands paused. Then something in her changed. She finished wiping the tiny speck, slow, careful, professional, then lifted her face. Her eyes weren't pleading anymore. They were on fire. "You can humiliate me," Marta said quietly. "You can threaten my job. You can even make me scrub your shoes until my knees bleed." Brooke smirked. "Exactly. Because you're nothing." Marta stood up steady, deliberate, and began peeling off her yellow gloves finger by finger, as if removing chains. She dropped them onto the tile with a soft slap. "You want to know who I am?" Marta asked, voice shaking with something too big to hide. "I'm the one who sat in a hard plastic chair during Noah's surgeries while Ethan was out saving companies. I'm the one who knows he's afraid of the dark. I'm the one who hears his nightmares before he wakes up." Brooke's smile twitched. "Stop." No, Marta snapped louder now. "You don't get to stop the truth." She stepped in front of Noah again, palms open, claiming space. "I didn't give birth to him. I don't have his blood. I don't have Ethan's money." Her throat tightened, and her eyes glossed. "But in this house, in this life, I am his mother. Because a mother is the one who stays. The one who loves. The one who stands between a child and a monster." Behind the doorway, Ethan's breath broke. And for the first time all day, Brooke Waverly didn't have a single word. Ethan's spine slid down the hallway wall like his bones had turned to sand. Because Marta's words weren't just aimed at Brooke, they hit him too. He covered his mouth, choking back a sound that didn't feel like a sob. It felt like something inside him snapping clean in half. And in that cracked open silence, his mind started rewinding the last 6 months like a brutal highlight reel he'd refused to watch. The first dinner. Brooke crouching down to greet Noah, then wiping her hand with a napkin like she'd touched something dirty. The sweet voice at restaurants, "Babe, it's not accessible. He'll be uncomfortable." The headaches every time the park came up. The forgotten birthday gift Noah never mentioned because Marta had quietly fixed it. And Ethan, he'd called it adjusting. He'd called it stress. He'd called it love. Now, from the kitchen, Brooke's voice floated out again, sharp, satisfied, like she'd done this 100 times. Ethan felt nauseous. The mansion, the marble, the money. None of it meant a damn thing if his son was terrified under his own roof. His hand tightened around the velvet box in his pocket. The ring felt less like a promise now, and more like a handcuff he'd almost locked onto his family. He looked past the doorway and saw Noah's face, tear-stained small, bracing for the next blow. That was the moment Ethan stopped being the billionaire, stopped being the lonely widower chasing a perfect replacement. His jaw set, his eyes went cold. Never again, he whispered, not to Brooke, not to Marta, to himself. Then he drew one slow breath, stepped out of the shadows, and let the wooden floor creak under his shoe like a warning shot. The trial was about to begin. Brooke sensed the shift before she saw him. Her shoulders lifted, her chin tilted like she could smell control returning. In one smooth motion, she wiped the cruelty off her face and replaced it with a trembling, innocent mask. She even smudged a strand of hair out of place, practicing heartbreak like it was a talent. Marta stayed planted beside Noah's wheelchair, breathing slow, one hand steady on his shoulder. Noah clung to his wooden horse eyes, darting between the two women like he was watching a storm choose its target. Then Ethan stepped fully into the kitchen. The air changed. Brooke rushed toward him, voice cracking on cue. "Ethan, thank God you're here." She grabbed his suit lapels, pressing her cheek to his chest. "She attacked me. She went crazy. I was only trying to teach Noah discipline," and Ethan didn't move. Didn't hug her back. He stared over her head at the orange stain on the tile. The crumpled bills scattered like trash, the discarded yellow gloves in the corner, and at the end of the room, his son's red, swollen eyes. Brooke pulled back just enough to show him her wrist. "Look," she sobbed. "She grabbed me. She hurt me. I don't feel safe." Ethan's gaze dropped to the faint red mark, then lifted to her eyes. His voice came out low, flat, terrifyingly calm. "She attacked you." Brooke nodded fast, relieved he'd spoken. "Yes, I swear." "And Noah, he threw the juice on purpose. He was being—" Ethan stepped sideways, gently removing himself from her touch, like she was something misplaced. He walked past her without a word, straight toward Marta and Noah. Brooke's breath caught. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He stopped in front of his son, and for a heartbeat, Noah flinched, expecting punishment. That flinch shattered Ethan. He knelt down until he was eye level with Noah, and the entire room held its breath. Noah's lips trembled. He tried to shrink back into the chair like he'd trained his body to do when adults got close. "I'm sorry, Dad," he whispered, voice barely there. "I'm sorry about the juice. Please, don't send me away. Don't send Nana away. I'll be good. I'll be quiet." Ethan's throat tightened so hard it hurt. He reached out slowly, careful, gentle, then took Noah's small wrists and lowered them from his face. "Look at me, buddy," Ethan said. His voice didn't sound like the man who negotiated deals. It sounded like a father who'd just woken up from a nightmare. "Look in my eyes." Noah obeyed, blinking fast, waiting for the anger. But Ethan's eyes were wet. "You are not bad," Ethan said, each word measured. "You are not clumsy. And nobody hear me, nobody is sending you anywhere." Behind them, Brooke let out a sharp, fake laugh to break the moment. "Ethan, don't let him manipulate you. Ethan didn't even turn his head. "What Brooke said doesn't matter," he told Noah, still holding his gaze like a lifeline. "The only thing that matters is what I saw." Noah's eyebrows pinched. "You saw," Brooke's voice cracked, real panic sneaking through the performance. "Saw what, Ethan? What are you talking about?" Ethan stood up slowly. The movement cast his shadow across the tile like a door closing. He faced Brooke at last. His jaw was set. His calm was surgical. "I saw everything he said. I was behind that door." Brooke's color drained so fast she looked sick. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Ethan took one step toward her, then another, and the truth finally had nowhere left to hide. Brooke snapped out of her freeze and lunged for the only weapon she had left, lies. "Ethan, wait. Listen," she stammered, forcing a smile that shook at the edges. "You're misunderstanding. I was stressed. It was a joke, a discipline thing. You know how kids are. They exaggerate." Ethan didn't blink. He glanced down at the crumpled bills scattered across the tile, Marta's money thrown like trash. Then his eyes moved to the yellow gloves on the floor. Then to Noah's face, still braced for impact, like punishment was the normal ending to every scene. Ethan's voice dropped even lower. "Pick it up." Brooke frowned, pretending she hadn't heard. "What?" "The money," Ethan said, pointing at the floor. "Pick it up, now." For 1 second, she tried to laugh it off. Ethan, seriously, his stare cut her in half. Something in it said the game was over. Brooke's knees bent. Slowly. Awkwardly. The same woman who'd just made Marta kneel now lowered herself to the cold tile, gathering wrinkled bills with trembling fingers. Her manicure caught on the edges. Her breathing turned shallow. Ethan watched without a flicker of pity. 5 minutes ago, he said, voice sharp but controlled. "You forced an honorable woman to kneel for your shoe. Now you're kneeling for your own greed." Brooke's eyes filled real tears this time. "Please, Ethan. We were going to get married. I love you." Ethan let out a dry, humorless exhale. "You don't love me. You love my credit cards." He turned away from her fully, finally, and walked back to Noah and Marta, like they were the only people in the room who mattered. Then he delivered the sentence soft and lethal. Get up, get out of my house. Ethan didn't stop at throwing her out. He made sure the lesson landed. Brooke stumbled upright, mascara streaking down her cheeks, clutching the last bills like they were proof she still mattered. You'll regret this, she hissed, voice cracking between rage and panic. Do you know what people will say? The invitations are already out. My dress. Ethan stepped closer, close enough that Brooke finally smelled the steel in him. You tortured a 6-year-old, he said, quiet and deadly. And your biggest fear is gossip. Brooke tried again, one last, desperate rewrite of reality. I was trying to be a good mother to him. I was overwhelmed. I did it for us. Ethan's eyes flicked to Noah, then back to her. No, he said. You did it because you hate that my son needs attention. You hate his chair? You hate anything that isn't about you. Brooke's breathing turned frantic. Fine, if you're ending this, then at least I keep the ring. You gave it to me. It's mine. Ethan held out his palm. Open. Unmoving. The ring. Brooke covered her left hand instinctively. No, that ring wasn't a gift, Ethan said. It was a promise. And you broke it the moment you called my son a burden. His voice dropped another notch. Give it back or I call the police and report it stolen. Her fingers shook as she yanked at it. It stuck for a second on her swollen knuckle, then popped free. She spat it toward his chest like poison. Ethan caught it without looking. 3 minutes, he said, pulling out his phone. Security's at the door. Pack your clothes and nothing else. Brooke's face twisted with hatred. No one will want you, Ethan. No one wants a broken kid. Ethan didn't flinch. My son isn't broken, he said, turning back toward Noah and Marta. You are. Ethan didn't chase Brooke down the hall. He didn't need to. The sound of her heels fading away was enough like a door finally shutting on months of poison. When the kitchen went quiet, the silence hit harder than any scream. Marta stood beside Noah's wheelchair, with her hands folded, bracing for the next blow, because in her world, standing up for a child always came with a price. She cleared her throat, eyes lowered. Sir, I'll pack my things too. I understand if you want me gone after all this. Ethan stepped closer. Not as the owner of the house, as a man who had just realized who really held his family together. No, he said. Marta looked up confused. Ethan took her rough, hard-working hands in his hands that had washed dishes, wiped tears, held a little boy steady after surgeries. His voice cracked. You're not going anywhere. Unless you choose to. You did what I should have done. You protected my son when I failed. Noah watched wide-eyed, clutching his wooden horse like it was the last safe thing on earth. Ethan knelt again this time in front of Marta, not to apologize with words, but with posture. Thank you, he whispered. Not employee to boss, father to mother. Father. Then he turned to Noah, opened his arms, and Noah didn't hesitate anymore. He leaned forward and wrapped his small arms around his dad's neck, like he finally believed he was allowed to be loved. Here's the truth. Love isn't who looks good in family photos. Love is who shows up when it's hard. The real wealth in a home isn't marble floors or perfect appearances, it's safety. It's kindness. It's the courage to protect the vulnerable even when nobody's watching. If this story hit something in you, tell me in the comments, who was the Marta in your life? Or who do you want to become for someone else? And if you believe families are built by loyalty, not labels like this video, subscribe and share it with someone who needs that reminder today.